This is a seafood tower, but this is an ultimate seafood tower. Today, we're gonna show you how to make not just a seafood tower, but an ultimate seafood tower. One to feed 100 people. Everything from how to cook a shrimp sous vide, how to shuck lobster, cryo-shucked oysters, from the build, the seafood, and the planning. That's the ultimate seafood tower. It's Seafood Month for ChefSteps editorial, so we were gonna make a little one, but then YouTube asked us to host their YouTube creator event. So we decided to make the ultimate one. We have a whole range of textures, so the categories for us are gonna like raw shuck, poached chilled, marinated dressed. I would like to chat with Sasha about seafood towers in general.
To me, it's one of those things that, like, if you're gonna do it, it has to be over the top. It has to be enough stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like a little mini one. You're like, really?
Why not
and
do
then
this?
also, it's one of those things where, like, if I'm not paying, I'm all for it. Love a seafood tower.
I like dining experiences like this. I'm not expecting everybody at home, or really anybody at home, to do everything we're doing. Definitely for me, shucking oysters.
I think it's a lot easier than people make it out to be.
I would like to see more delicious sauces and dips and condiments.
You can make an excellent cocktail sauce starting with a base of ketchup and then
Totally.
just raid your
Fresh
cabinet for
horseradish,
all
lemon.
the like umami ingredients you have, and you're
Yep.
just like, all of a sudden you've made something awesome.
You can make this and not make anything from
Right,
scratch.
exactly,
You can,
yeah.
It could be that easy.
Yeah.
We don't do easy. Time to build our seafood tower. This is a regular size seafood tower here. This is what you would find in 99% of your seafood tower situations at a restaurant. We need to feed a ton of people. We need maximum bites. It's gonna build up. Problem number one, I'm gonna put a bunch of dry ice in here, which is negative 110 degrees, so I don't wanna burn or crack or warp this thing. I also don't want it sliding around anywhere. So I'm gonna do a hunk of yoga mat. Here's pan number one. And this is gonna probably have 400 pounds pushing down on this once it's built. That's layer one. The next layer, I just grabbed the little racks and I have this really, really grippy, it's not tape, it's like a hose repair. It's super grippy. So these guys aren't gonna slide anywhere. We're gonna keep building. Oh, it's gonna go to something like that. Smaller layer. Yeah, this guy. Oh yeah. Check this out, just because I think it's gonna be cool and it'll be practical. I'm gonna fill it with dry ice and liquid nitrogen, and it'll be like cold fog. That'll actually keep the seafood even more chilled. From here, I've got to break it back down and start building up ice layer, ice layer, ice layer, ice layer. So this is the build for our ultimate seafood tower. I think it's gonna work. She's gonna do a sanity check. When are people gonna start eating? 5:30? Let's hope this works. Here we go. Just hanging out at atmosphere open. Dry ice likes to go away quick. That's gonna be like our ice battery, but you don't wanna put food right on it. It's very cold. You can burn your little lip or your tongue if something sticks to it. It'll also freeze the seafood, it's too cold. So we have rock salt. It's gonna insulate the dry ice. The dry ice is gonna chill the rock salt, and we'll be able to plate up right on this nice bed of rock salt. It'll be real pretty, it'll stay cold way longer than water ice. Next layer. This is nice and cold. Last one. So again, we're putting a little crushed ice on this top layer.
Because this is the only layer where ingredients would be directly touching it.
Right. Okay, so we got our ultimate build. Now we're ready for food. This is where it gets real sexy. Let's get some food on it.
I'm gonna walk you through the basic steps for making our confit albacore tuna. So what makes this dish tick? It's quality seafood. High quality albacore tuna, rosy bright color, should be firm to the touch. Second thing is the brine. We're gonna be doing a gradient brine. So it's high amounts of salt and sugar in your water. I like to brine for 30 to 40 minutes, and we're gonna cook it sous vide. The reason why I like cooking this sous vide is because it is really important that the temperature is exact when you cook it. So the albacore tuna has already been cooked sous vide. It's chilled down to fridge temperature. So it's really firm right now. This is its firmest state. This will improve the shelf life of the fish for, I don't know, about a week or so. So you can do this in advance, cut it up last minute just before you serve it. So what we're gonna first do is we're gonna dose up these spoons with just a little bit of ponzu. We like to add argon to it Has a nice kind of sweet nuttiness, and I also love the viscosity of it. It's all about umami, letting the fish shine through, and having that beautiful brine flavor of what I want canned seafood to be at its best state.
How are you feeling about the setup, Nick?
Pretty good. We're about 1 minute out from throwing the first tray at you.
Nick's running the pass here. We're plating up right now. We've got 9 or 10 dishes that are going to be coming through the pass here, going on the seafood tower. And then on top of the dishes, we've got like garnish food, like lobster tails, Dungeness crab legs, fresh oysters, the geoduck station. I'm probably missing some items, but there's a ton of stuff coming.
All right, first tray's up.
Hands, please.
Hands to the pass.
These are kombu-cured scallops. Kombu is the seaweed of the big giant Pacific kelp. You chop up the scallop and cure it between the salty kombu, and then dress it with just like lemon olive oil, lemon zest, parsley, and we got some chili on top. Super, super fresh. These are salmon 104 bites. The first dish that ChefSteps ever published.
Right?
Yeah. It's mi-cuit salmon, not chewy like raw salmon. It's like buttery and flaky in between. Our menus here. Oh, dude, it looks so good. And you got the S capitalized. How stable is this from the... Sasha! Our floors aren't perfectly level, you know. Ooh. Hold on, I'm not gonna touch it. I'm going away.
Super-umami cocktail sauce, one that's gonna open up your nasal cavities. The Fresno pepper with the shallots, a little bit of lemon peel. We're gonna steam this off with a little bit of water. Just go ahead and add that salt in there too. Steam it covered for 2 minutes. You gotta sizzle and add the tomato paste. It does smell amazing, the sweet, the sour, the chili, the tomato. And we're gonna put this into a vessel so we can blend it. I do have a little water here. This aids in the final consistency of the sauce. You make your prepared horseradish and add it to this red chili ketchup. And this will be your super-umami cocktail sauce.
Potato chips. Let's make some. What I'm going for is 1 chip per guest. No, I'm just kidding. We're gonna do more than that. You need a mandolin. There's no avoiding it. You start by slicing away. Instead of measuring each chip, because that's annoying, just get like 10 of them. That's 15 millimeters for 10 slices. So that's 1.5 millimeter average, right? I'm gonna go a little bit thinner. Oh yeah, 5 millimeters, 5 slices, we're good to go. Fried at 300 degrees for about 4 minutes. And then some powdered salt. Not chunky salt, powdered salt. And that's it. These are potato chips for the seafood tower. It's one of the vessels. They're gonna be really good with caviar and cream and tartare. One of the few food patents I'm listed on, cryo poaching. Liquid nitrogen. The cool thing about this technique, you can do it with like hundreds of oysters at once. So all you're doing here is freezing them just long enough that it deteriorates the protein bond in the little muscle against the shell. But what you do is you freeze these guys like this, and the oyster's not frozen all the way through, because if you freeze something in liquid nitrogen, the ice crystals are so fine, once it thaws, it's like it was never frozen at all. So these you freeze and then let them naturally kind of thaw out on their own. But that's what you end up with. Perfect little oyster. You keep all the juice, all the liqueur in there. The difference is the look, the yield of juice, and how easy it is to do 100 of them, I would say. I just need 1 more any fish dish.
I can rail you a tuna.
Let's just do that. Enough said here. You can see all the classic accoutrement. And then from our pancake parametric, buttermilk blini, so good. Taking a risk, being bold, caviar next to the tower. Are these guys done? Can we peek at the menu? Oh yeah. What do you mean? What time is it? 4:35. And guests are 5? I'm leaving it here. I want it to start thawing out. That's what I'm doing. Sous vide octopus. It's super yummy. It's just tender. It's like a leveled up Spanish tinned octopus. So it's sous vide for, what's the time and temp on this octopus?
75°C for 5 hours.
And we have a really, really yummy, what's our dressing this time?
Ramp, mint, parsley, pesto.
Just a really, really yummy green puree. Ramp, mint, parsley. I don't know, I haven't seen a better seafood tower than that.
time. We're ready to eat. Tower's done. The menu's melting in a good way. All our friends are coming in. Let's do this.
Yum! Welcome to ChefSteps. It's not going to get any fresher than this either, so just dig in. Welcome to ChefSteps Studios. Anything worth doing is worth overdoing here.
Subscribe to our channel and visit chefsteps.com for more tips, recipes, guides, and tools to help you level up in the kitchen.